hanging out with us today. Always great to catch up to our next guest. And spent the weekend in Baltimore and took in that Chiefs victory over the Ravens. But always fun to talk to him. You can follow him at Jeff Kerr CBS. Catch his work, of course, at cbssports.com. The one and only Jeff Kerr. Jeff, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, guys? By the way, a lot of things are bugging me today. Between the Phillies League City Connect jersey, which I knew was going to look like the Union and not too happy about it, and the whole NBA Joel Embiid thing, and everybody complaining about Taylor Swift being on TV, even though she was on TV less than a minute. It's a lot of things are bugging me. Oh, by the way, as a racing fan, F1 saying that they build the Andretti brand, which anybody and their mother knows who Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti are. It's even listeners of this show know who they are. So I don't need to hear that crap.
Jeff's on fire.
I'm fired up today.
Jeff came in hot. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
He comes in hot. Yes, Taylor Swift was on camera for 44 seconds of a 3-hour and 9-minute game, and everybody's all worked up about it. All right.
And, she's on way too much. I'm like, well, what are you supposed to do? She's the girlfriend of the best player. I'm sorry, the second best player on the Chiefs. No disrespect to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I do want to get to that because I know you covered that game in a sec, but I have to start with this, Jeff. My sources, and I have very good sources on this one, are telling me that you interviewed SpongeBob SquarePants yesterday. Is this correct?
This is correct, and you are the source, Rob, because I believe I'm the one who told you this when you wanted me to go on.
Don't give your sources up, Jeff. Come on, man.
Oh, I can give you away. Yeah, okay. I interviewed SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy Cheeks. So there you go.
Sandy Cheeks, I love it. Now, how did that go? Were they? I've heard they could be a rough interview sometimes. That crew, I don't know.
Oh, they were hilarious. I told them the pleasure was all mine for. Given, they were my childhood, essentially. They were my childhood. They were my teenage years. And they're like, wait, you're actually honored to interview us for 15 minutes? Now, I interviewed Bill Fagerback last year when Patrick did the whole Christmas thing. Remember the Russell Wilson thing he went viral for?
Yes.
I interviewed him a week before that. And it was funny. We were talking more about his role of Dauber in coach than actually being Patrick. And he said, I hope there's like a memorable play that I can gravitate toward. And he was a big Rams fan. So he's like, the Rams sucked last year. So that was the greatest thing that could ever happen, that there was a team worse than my Rams. And he's all excited for this. Like just the whole getting to mingle with Spun. He said he wishes Squidward could be part of it, but it's going to be – it was a fun interview. I can't wait to share it with everybody.
All right, good, man. Looking forward to that. All right, I want to start with the Eagles here, and I want to get your impressions here of the Fangio-Moore hires. Let's start – let's go on the defensive side first because I think Fangio's got his work cut out for him, Jeff. Just I don't know that they have the talent on that side of the ball. But your impressions of them bringing him in and what he brings to the table for people who may not be as familiar with what, he likes to do and whatnot.
So I – like the person I met on the hire, just because a week ago they wanted to just completely ditch this defense and, go to a Ron Rivera or a Wink Martindale and try to blitz more, use the strength of the personnel they got. Then they decide, we can get the guy who we've been trying to replicate for years with Jonathan Gannon, with Sean Desai. That was the reason they hired Sean Desai, because they thought he was the closest thing to Vic Fangio. Well, he was the furthest thing away from Vic Fangio. Players complained about him the entire season. It was just a mess. And, we saw the Matt Patricia fiasco after that. So maybe Sean Desai wasn't that bad. But I like how they're sticking with, okay, if they're going to stick with the Fangio thing, you might as well just get the guy you wanted to be your defensive coordinator anyway. So I like that move. But you're right, Rob. They need the personnel. They need Mike Caldwell as linebackers coach, by the way. I love the Clint Hurt hire. I love the guys Vic Fangio could bring in, and he could bring in really good defensive pieces with him. So there's a lot of attachments to Vic Fangio that you're like, okay, maybe the defense is his style of defense is kind of fading in the end, but you're not a defensive coordinator for 30 years if you're not adjusting.
Right. Makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And then it makes me think about Kellen Moore, right? I want to get your take on that hire as well, because when I look at Kellen Moore, I see a guy, his resume indicates that he's really only dealt with the drop back quarterbacks, really. Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. Now he's going to be working with Jalen Hurts. I'm curious to know what's your opinion about what the Philadelphia Eagles' vision may be for Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts and just that marriage.
I got news for the run the ball crowd. They ain't running the ball. So, I love the Kellen Moore hire. Are you going to love it when he throws the ball 50 times? Because that's just good. Jalen Hurts is going to put some gaudy passing numbers with Kellen Moore. I'll say that. But, yeah, Terry, I'm glad you brought that up with the whole dropping back. And I think that's a part of Jalen's game they really need to add to the offense. Like, I don't mind Jalen Hurts in shotgun as much as he is, but I think that's the big knock with guys like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, essentially, that they are back in shotgun way too much. And they're relying on those two to make all the plays they need to make when in reality, the Eagles did not have to do that last year. They could have relied on A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and DeAndre Swift and guys like that to carry this football team. And they didn't get Swift involved enough in the passing game. That if they do keep Swift, I don't think we're going to see much of that with Moore. Although he does like to swing the ball to his running backs. Like, it's not like he didn't try to get the ball to Austin Eckler last year. Austin Eckler was hurt. And I said this on Birds 365, just talking to a couple players that played for Kellen Moore. And look, the Chargers had a ton of injuries last year. Let's be realistic. I think a lot of people out there were sad to see him go, but kind of knew that was going to happen with Jim Harbaugh going there. He can go wherever he wants. So I do think it's the game for the Eagles. I think it's a change in offensive philosophy. And that was the only good thing I liked about that press conference last Wednesday was that they were willing to just change everything on their offense. I do not like hearing, though, I can't confirm or deny whether it's true or not, but if Nick Sirianni fails, they're going to go look at Bill Belichick. I'm like, do you really want that fraud to be your head coach? Like, the guy, unless Tom Brady's coming with him, you're not winning.
Yeah, so what Jeff's referencing, what he's referencing, and this is a report yesterday from Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. He was on 98.5 in Boston. Now, to be clear, what he said was he's hearing through back channels, had the Eagles blown Sirianni out, that they would have been in on Belichick, okay? That's the first part of it. And I'll just tell you, I played that cut last night on WIP for Howard Eskin, who was the team's sideline reporter, and he vehemently, to say the least, swears up and down that it's bogus, that they did not have any interest and wouldn't, even if they fired Sirianni after the season, have interest in Belichick. I'm just trying to give you both sides of this thing.
Yeah, and you know what? I would side with Eskin because he's in the building. Like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight for this. I mean, honestly, I think if the Eagles would have fired Sirianni, I think Bobby Slowick would have been probably their top guy. That's who I would have thought they'd try to go at. But obviously, Slowick's staying in Houston. That's a smart move by him. Same with but by the way, I loved how the Eagles interviewed Gerard Johnson for their offense coordinator role. Again, he's another young coach, a lot of fresh mind, a lot of fresh ideas. The work he did with C.J. Stroud this year, he was a former Eagle at one point. He was in training camp in 2011. So, I liked all the guys they were looking at on the offensive side of the ball, minus Cliff Kingsbury. That's the one guy I did not want.
All right, so let's stay on that for a minute, Jeff. One of the things the Eagles really struggled with was the blitz. This is one of the things that Kellen Moore does extremely well. His Dallas days, he was very good. I think in 2022, they were number one against the blitz. That's something that became all too predictable, right? I mean, this should be an area that we see a vast improvement in your estimation.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's something they have to do. Look, there were a lot of things why this offense was kind of up and down the entire season. And it's crazy to think about. So I got my end of season review stuff from our CBS Sports research team, from Sport Radar, for a lot of numbers here. And I crunched some numbers myself. Did you guys know in the general consensus, the Eagles were a top 10 offense last year?
It's amazing, right? The way we talk about it, you would think that they were a bottom 10, but you're right. I mean, I think they were still seventh in scoring. There's in a lot of areas, Jeff, their numbers are still pretty good. Now, obviously it looked hideous at the end, and that colors the way that you look at it, but you're right.
Yeah. I think what the fan base reacted to was this was a team that was supposed to make up for the deficiencies of this defense, but the Eagles defense was terrible. They were the worst in the NFL the last 7-8 weeks of the season, and the offense just couldn't score enough to counter it. Like, they scored 30 against the Cardinals, they lost. They scored 30 against the Giants. It was a close game. And it's definitely the last 2 games is what gets in everybody's mind. And look, everybody wants to talk high school offense, this or that, but the reality of the situation is just no one played well. And they really did miss A.J. Brown.
Jeff, I want to get your opinion on where Nick Sirianni fits in with all this, when it comes to Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Look, they've pretty much blown out his entire staff on offense for the most part, or it's going to happen because Kellen Moore is going to find a way to bring his guys in. We're already in a position where we're questioning what Nick Sirianni's role is. I'm curious to know, do you look at him as a lame duck coach at this point, and has the fuse already been lit on his departure? Because by my estimation, they've already kind of positioned themselves in a way that if things go south, Kellen Moore can just phase right into that head coaching role, that interim role. They interviewed him in 2021. It just seems like a situation where Howie and his organization are kind of hedging their bets while not really revealing that they're hedging their bets. Again, I know I said a lot there. I just want to get your opinion on that.
Well, same with Vic Fangio too, right, Tim? I mean, Vic Fangio was a head coach in this league for 3 years. So, yeah, they are hedging their bets. And look, I hate when they basically say, and well, they didn't say, okay, you essentially got this year. Like, we are going to pick your coordinators. You have to change your entire offense. You have to hire this guy for deep, which, again, I don't think Nick Sirianni had a problem with hiring Vic Fangio at all. And I really don't think he has a big of an issue with giving up the offensive play calling because he's still a head coach in this league. If he wants to be a CEO head coach, I think he's okay with that. So I think that's why he's still here. But, yeah, if everything falls off the rails next year, he's gone. And one thing I did notice in that press conference, there wasn't a lot of that stupid joke Howie Roseman tries to make that he only thinks is funny and we don't. I think Howie Roseman might be a little serious for him too. Not saying his job's going to be on the line or anything like that, but it feels like Lurie kind of gave him something too. Like, hey, we just can't suck 1 year and be great the next. Like, why can't we do what Andy Reid did here and just win, and go deep in the playoffs every single year? Why does everything have to be we have this ultimate, we go to the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden we slowly fade and then we get better again? I think that's on Howie Roseman.
Well, that begs the question, should his job be on the line in the first place, right? I mean, he's a guy that's – look, what GM do we know of in this league that can survive as many head coaches as Howie Roseman has? That's that's a reality. And also on top of that, when it comes to Nick Sirianni and his job security, could they really have afforded to bring in a whole new coach? And in this climate right now, with all these big name coaches on the market, it just seemed like they knew they were better off keeping him. Just from the public relations standpoint. Again, Howie Roseman is a guy who he's kind of seeped through the cracks through all of this. Should he be on the hot seat as well? Should there be a lot of pressure on Howie Roseman as well entering the 2024 offseason and season?
Yeah. By the way, I want to add, were you guys intrigued by the coaching hires this cycle outside of Jim Harbaugh?
Fascinated.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's the one guy I would have taken here, but nothing against Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris deserves a head coaching job in this league. But I've also seen Raheem Morris. It's again, and I feel like Raheem Morris, if the Falcons stink, I'm going to be like, they gave this guy a second head coaching job. Like Dennis Allen, I don't know how he's still hot. I don't know how Dennis Allen still has a job. Like Josh McDaniels got hired a second time. I'll never understand it. And look, I love how Dave Canales got a job. More power to him in Carolina because that's.
Is it fair to say for Raheem Morris that when he was a head coach, he was very young in Tampa, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, I like the hires Raheem Morris is doing. So I think this could work in Atlanta. It's just, I feel bad for him because he doesn't have a quarterback. And I don't know why would you want to take the Falcons job? But again, he's familiar with the organization. And again, I was actually, I wasn't shocked, but I was kind of shocked Raheem Morris took Atlanta. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
You know, I thought maybe Seattle would be a better fit for Raheem Morris.
Oh, okay. So you were shocked that he took that job rather than okay, got it.
Yeah. I think there were other jobs he could have had, and look, he's earned it. And so Atlanta was the one there. Ben Johnson turning down the Commanders, I'm kind of not surprised about, even though because on Sunday it seemed like Ben Johnson and Mike Macdonald were the two, from what I was hearing, that they wanted. And McDonald's still available, but Ben Johnson said no. And everybody goes, well, how can they say that? They got a new owner, they got this. I'm like, it's still the Commanders. They still aren't good. They don't know who the quarterback is. They got a lot to fix. It's maybe Ben Johnson doesn't want to do that. Maybe he wants a job where he can win right away. But
yeah, the only problem I have with that, Jeff, and I get you, everything you say makes sense. But the only issue I have is I look back at a guy like Byron Leftwich who turned down the Jags when Doug took it, and he's like persona non grata now, man.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't even have a job.
That's what I mean. Like, I get it, and I understand. You know, we have no idea what Josh Harris is going to be like as a football owner, right? No idea. But man, there's only so many of those gigs, and I'm watching like Bobby Slowick and even Jared Johnson say, "I'm out. Like, I'm just going to stay where I'm at." I'm like, all right, guys. I hope you get another shot when that wheel keeps spinning around, man.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're in a society now where you want to win and you want to win right away because your shelf life as an NFL head coach isn't good. And no one wants to build anything anymore. Like, that's why I kind of like Dave Canales. Like, he wants to build something. But again, this is where I also have an issue with hiring a defensive head coach now. Look at Raheem Morris, for example. Zach Robinson, love the hire. Love the hire as offensive coordinator. You know, if the Falcons turn their offense around, Zach Robinson is gone. And then he has to go back into the well and hire a guy.
Right.
So that's the only issue there. I don't know why I'm picking on Raheem Morris as much as I am, but
no. But all right, so yeah. Jeff, let's relate that to the Eagles because I hear people talk about this all the time. Like the thought is, if the offense, gets back to where it needs to be, and Kellen Moore will get all the props for it, he might get poached, and that's totally true, right? I don't care. I'm worried about fixing this in 2024 and getting things right and figuring it out from there. I know that sounds like myopic and short term. I don't care. I got to get it fixed now, man. I can't worry about 2-3 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. Because Nick will probably not be here if he doesn't get it fixed.
Exactly
now.
Right. If this goes sideways, everybody's out.
Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah.
It's a rebuild. And that's why, like, the rebuild talk is real. Like, everybody says, gets on guys on WIP to talk about a rebuild. I'm like, you guys do know it's close.
Very close.
If this doesn't work, you are going to rebuild. You're going to hire a new coach. You're going to hire a new philosophy. There are guys that are in this building and aren't going to be here anymore. That's just the reality of the situation. That's what happens when you lose in the National Football League. So, you have to get this fixed now. And Nick can fix this pretty simple. If they go 12-5, 13-4 next year and win a playoff game, you're not worrying about this.
No, it's all good. Yeah,
it's all
well, all right. That said, let's pick up on Jalen, because Tone and I were just discussing this a little bit earlier. How big a fix, whatever term you want to use, is it with him? Is it tweakage? Is it some pretty major overhauls? How do you view the Jalen getting him back to where he was?
I think the turnovers are Jalen's biggest problem last year. You could have terrible throwing mechanics. You can have this, you can have that. But if you turn the football over, to me, you're pretty much useless. And he fumbled the ball 7 straight times last year. And everybody goes, well, they weren't recovering. I'm like, you still fumble the ball. You still put the ball on the ground.
Right.
Like, you're throwing interceptions earlier in the season. So, and honestly, I think last year was the outlier. I actually think he's going to be more toward the 2022 version of Jalen Hurts, where he's not going to turn the football over. Because I think when you turn the football over, you start pressing a lot. I saw that with Dak Prescott 2 years ago. He just kept throwing pick after pick after pick. And then it became, okay, now their balls are coming off defenders' hands. And it's stuff like that. Then you're like, you just can't get away from it. And it just affects you and how you manage a football game. So I think the best thing for Jalen Hurts this year was getting over, as much as he would never want to admit that. No one on the Eagles ever want to admit that. But it just seemed like everything just snowballed on him from day one. And it just never looked right at all the entire season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Jeff, I want to get your opinion on how the Philadelphia Eagles should approach their offseason. Their staff is beginning to fill out, at least on the defensive side. Later on in the show, Rob, we're going to talk about, the positions of priority for the Philadelphia Eagles, how they should approach free agency and the draft. If you were the GM, what's your first course of action when it comes to getting this team back on track from a personnel standpoint?
You got to get players accountable, and you got to get leaders in here because you might be losing Fletcher Cox. You might be losing Jason Kelsey. You might be losing Brandon Graham. I doubt they're going to lose Brandon Graham because he wants him back, but you could be losing these guys, and if you got to fix them, you know, AJ Brown is a captain on this football team, but did he really show captain mentality the last month of the season?
No, not entirely. No.
Yeah, and I love AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown's great. He's great with the media. He's great with the players. Like, players respect him. But from the outside looking in, you're thinking, okay, like, you're a leader on this team, and you're kind of disappearing right now. It's not good. Like, and then you got the other end of the spectrum, Darius Slay, who just talks a little too much. But again, it's all good. But I think you need just different voices in there, and I think the Eagles have relied on the voices of Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and Lane Johnson, those guys, for so long. By the way, I get so upset over this. I said this to Jody and John the other day. When did all of a sudden Jalen Hurts become a bad leader because they lost a couple games? To me, it hasn't changed at all, and that's a good thing, right?
No, I'm with you on that.
It's losing. That's all it is.
Yeah, because let's be frank about it, right? I'm so glad you brought that up. It kind of blows my mind, where the narrative is going around Jalen Hurts, because the fact of the matter is he's been the exact same player, win, lose, or draw. And typically that's the kind of guy you want, right? When you're winning, we love the calm gunslinger mentality. We love how stoic he is. He's like an assassin. But then he's losing. He's cocky. He's arrogant. What is that? What's going on with this? He's
not looking at the iPad.
Right. And it's just like Jalen Hurts, his sideline body language has been pretty consistent. Now, I will say this, and I will be honest. In that Buccaneers game, more than ever, his body language was bothering me.
Yes.
Because I agree there. Because I felt like he gave up before the game was even over. His frustration level was extremely high in that game, and it was bleeding through the TV screen. Now that we're here, I'm curious to know, because you spoke on it just now. What were you seeing with Jalen Hurts' body language in that final game, and how has that shifted or evolved your opinion of him as a quarterback?
I did not like the business decision he made on the Kenny Gainwell run, and I noticed that right away. I'm like, come on,
I noticed that right away. Yes,
like, dude, you're Jalen Hurts. You're the guy. Like, just coaching another sport. I tell my guys all the time, like, look, you can't do that stuff. Like, you can't single out your teammates. You can't, not give it all because they're giving it all. And so if you're the leader of the team and you're doing that, there's probably a reason why Dallas Goedert, whatever the situation is. I know they downplayed it, but there's a reason why people were frustrated with Jalen Hurts. And again, I don't think Jalen was accustomed to losing like that, because it's never happened. I think it was new to him. And again, he's still young. He's still only 25, but you are going to lose like that in the NFL. And yeah, I just did not like that body language in the Giants game. I did not like it in the Tampa game. And again, and look, I don't mind how Jalen answers like us when we ask him questions, but I don't like, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. I'm like, you know what, Jalen, stop acting like you're the most stoic guy in the room all the time. You don't have to be. Yeah. You don't have to act like you're smarter than everybody else, because you know what? Those are the people that most people can't stand in life.
Right. No, I think, here's what I think, Jeff, ultimately. I don't want him being phony. Like, I don't want him all of a sudden ripping his shirt off and flipping tables. Like, that's not who he is.
Yeah.
Do I think that he can evolve as a leader? Yeah, I think all of us can. Do I think he could be a little bit more inclusive to his teammates? Yeah. Like, I think you could do that and understand that even when things are going south, man, you don't have to be unto yourself all the time.
Also, I don't think we need 5 bodyguards around Jalen Hurts in the locker room all the time. I know that's something he can't control, but that's something that,
right.
Let's just put it this way. As someone who's covered the Ravens a lot and who has covered the Chiefs, that does not happen with their quarterbacks who are right now better than Jalen Hurts.
Gotcha.
No, okay.
I can approach Patrick Mahomes in the locker room, and it's not a "what are you doing here?" That's.
Okay, Jeff. Let's stay there for a second. You just opened up something for me that I'm really curious about. Again, you've been in these locker rooms. What is the environment? What is the ecosystem that Jalen Hurts is cultivating right now in that locker room?
It's just a different mentality, and maybe it is Jalen, but you don't see Jalen much. And again,
or is it the organization that's trying to protect him?
It could be
What
the
is it?
organization. Yeah, and maybe that's where I'm getting at, right? Because Baltimore, after they win a playoff game or lose a playoff game, they won a playoff game over the Texans. Lamar's in the corner, just like Jalen Hurts is, but you can go up to him. Patrick Mahomes is in the middle of the visitors' locker room. He's available. Like, there's someone there, like, prepping him for stuff, but you can go up to him and say, hey, Pat, what's going on? You know, I can do that to Jalen, and it's like, how you doing? But Pat will talk. Lamar will talk. Again, I think Jalen's got to get that. And again, you know, I interviewed Patrick Mahomes back in 2019, 2020. He's probably groomed to do it. But maybe it's an Andy Reid thing, or maybe it's a John Harbaugh thing. You know, it's funny how they come from the same tree. So,
right.
You know, their guys are available. Like, Travis Kelce did not speak to us after the game on Sunday. And there are a lot of people complain because, you know, he is Travis Kelce, but he was there in the locker room, and you could go up to him and probably wouldn't talk much, but he has backwards cap on and he has sunglasses on. You went up to him and say, hey, what's up, Trav? I probably would have said something back to you because he's just like his brother, but it's just different environment sometimes, you know, at least with the quarterback.
Let me ask you generally how you feel. Like, how would you attack the defensive side of the ball, Jeff? What are you prioritizing? Because Tony and I are going to get into this in a little bit, but what are you prioritizing first on that side to get them back to, you know, being decent even? Because that was awful last year defensively.
Running back.
So you're saying team-wise?
Yes, team-wise.
Running back is first for you?
Oh, absolutely. I did not like the way this team ran the football last year. And I argued with so many people on Twitter about this. Did everybody just ignore how bad this team was running the football after week 4? Last in yards after contact?
Yeah, they were
like, come on, man. Like, they were first the year before. And I haven't put it out there, but I should. This team is better with Miles Sanders running the football than they were with DeAndre Swift. They were. And again, I think DeAndre Swift needed help. He did not have that help. Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott, they didn't even use Boston Scott. So, it felt like DeAndre Swift was on an island, but I would not be in a rush to keep DeAndre Swift at all.
Wow.
Like there's a reason. Look, perfect example, the Detroit Lions. How much better did they get running the football once they got rid of him?
Their running game was...
And Jameson Williams. And by the way, not Jameson Williams, sorry, Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams can't even play on the Saints. And he had the franchise record for touchdowns. So DeAndre Swift was a good scat back for them. Like, he could catch a lot. The Eagles didn't even use him like that at all. And DeAndre Swift's going to get paid this offseason because people are going to look at 1,000-yard rusher and 4.6 yards per carry. But I'm seeing a guy that, outside of a couple runs, I just didn't see it. I didn't. And I think you got to revamp that position. If you want to bring him back, awesome. Give him help. We got too enamored with he's a Philly guy. Guess what? I don't care if he's a Philly guy. Didn't help you win football games last year.
All right, but that said, though, Jeff, you're going to prioritize that position when you said a little bit earlier, this cat they just brought in, Kellen Moore, is not going to run the ball a ton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the other thing. Like, they're not gonna run the ball. So I agree with you, Rob. But they need to get better running the football, no matter what, whether they run the ball or not. You just can't go in there with what you had last year. Because guess what? Pass the score, run the win. You're going to have to run the ball to preserve a lead at some point. And last year they could do that. This year they couldn't. And again, I still don't even think they used DeAndre Swift right at all. But if you bring him back, you got to get him some help. In the draft, something.
If I could sneak one more in on you, Jeff, where do you place the Philadelphia Eagles right now in the NFC today? Obviously, the playoffs are still going on, but just based on everything we've seen, where would you rank the Philadelphia Eagles today in the NFC?
Well, 49ers are 1. I think Cowboys are better than them too, unfortunately. So I go them. Packers are getting up there. I go 49ers, Detroit. I know it's chalk because they were in the NFC Championship game. I go Packers 3. I think I go Cowboys 4 because I think Cowboys are going to be a disaster next year because Jerry Jones just doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. or they'll just fade in the playoffs. Like
Do you don't think it's good that he's talking about how he could really get along with Belichick?
Oh
and
yeah,
McCarthy's still his coach?
yeah. You're Mike McCarthy. You must really love that. Or everybody's family member, everybody and their sister seems to hate Dak Prescott now. Like, by the way, CeeDee Lamb. I would tell every family member for CeeDee Lamb to just shut up. Like, you had 137 catches last year because of Dak.
Yeah,
Dak throws
and
you
you're
the ball.
complaining about Dak Prescott.
Yeah, like Mike McCarthy. Who cares? He's on the other side of the ball. Like, it doesn't matter. Like you can't be doing this to this guy. Like, whether you like Dak Prescott or not, it's not a bad dude.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing I don't like about Dak Prescott is every time he scores a touchdown, he always does the "look at me, I'm Dak" thing, which is it's him, and I think that's what people like about him. But it's also a really bad look when you're losing. So again, we're talking about Jalen's demeanor here. Could be worse. So, Eagles what 6 maybe? I think the Rams are better than them.
Yeah, because I think Rob had the Eagles at 6.
I had him at 6 yesterday.
I had him at 7.
That's fair too. Yeah,
I had Niners 1, Lions 2, Cowboys 3, Packers 4, Rams 5, Bucks 6, Eagles 7, Seahawks.
I mean, how can you say the Eagles are better than the Bucks right now when the Bucks just trounced them? Yeah,
it's kind of hard. But yeah, man, that's pretty much the Eagles have a lot of work to do this offseason. And I just have a hard time seeing the bright side of things for Nick Sirianni and at the end of the road. I have a hard time seeing it.
The bright side of things are Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Yeah. That's what the bright side of things are.
And still a really good offensive line. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's Jalen's gonna be back. There's too much of this. Will AJ Brown be back? Well, are you serious? Like, you're really gonna trade this guy? Like, come on, man. Like,
I don't get it.
Don't you think there's going to be some? And again, I'm not saying AJ Brown has to be one of them, but don't you think there's going to be some tough decisions that have to be made over the course of the next 2 years in order for them to get enough assets to rebuild this defense the right way and not rely on?
If you draft well, you don't have to worry about this.
But isn't that a concern of yours right now, especially with the Eagles' history in drafting defensive personnel?
You know what? They drafted the wrong defensive personnel. I love Jordan Davis. Should have drafted Kyle Hamilton. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I think everybody knew like Kyle Hamilton was going to be this good. It wasn't a shocker, and he was right there. He just did do it. Rob, you remember it? What year was Ray Lewis drafted? 96.
Yeah.
I remember the Eagles drafted over him.
96.
Yeah. Was that Mayberry? Was that Mayberry?
Mamula was 95.
Yeah, Mamula was 95. That was over Sapp and a bunch of those guys. I feel like Jermaine Mayberry was 96. Or
you said 96. So
yeah,
in 1996, the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Jeremy Mayberry in the first round.
Jermaine Mayberry, good call.
Yeah, Jermaine Mayberry, who was a Pro Bowler, but he was a Pro Bowler under Andy Reid. And by the way,
he was solid. He wasn't great. He was
and they drafted him to be a tackle. He was a better guard than
That's
he was a tackle.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So remember they were going with Barrett at the time.
Barrett Brooks.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I mean, they had a lot of misses in the Ray Rhodes era, by the way. I mean,
wow, Ray Lewis was drafted a pick later. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. See, they pass on these guys.
He was considered undersized coming out, believe it or not. That was the knock.
What I don't like about the Eagles are sometimes they have this high and mighty approach. We won a Super Bowl in 2017, and we're looking to get back there. I'm like, well, guess what? And Eagles fans got mad at me for saying this. They're like, well, when the Ravens becomes preeminent organization, I'm like, they've always been that. Don't you get it? They draft people. They won 2 Super Bowls. Like, they're always in it. They always been run well. The only time they lose is when Lamar Jackson gets hurt.
Why do you think they have this mentality, though? I mean, I know the Eagles, yeah, and I know we're keeping you over time, Jeff, but I feel like we're cooking with gas right now.
Oh, we are cooking.
Why do you think the Philadelphia Eagles have this mentality of holier than thou when they have such a small sample size in the grand scheme of the NFL when it comes to success in the Super Bowl? I'm trying to understand where this ego comes from.
I mean, they are a top 7 franchise.
Yes, they are,
but they act like they're higher, and which is fine. But you're not the Chiefs. Like, heaven forbid you mention Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Like, I do agree with Joe DeCamara, by the way. I think I'd rather take 11 more years of Andy Reid than what they got. And honestly, they're lucky they got their Super Bowl before Reed did. Because my biggest fear actually did come true last year. Andy Reid was going to beat them in the Super Bowl. I just thought Andy Reid would do it before they actually won one. So it softened the blow. But the Chiefs are well run. The Ravens are well run. The 49ers are well run. That's why they keep going to where they're going. Like, people don't like the way the 49ers act. I am one of them, but they win. They've been to 4 conference championship games in 5 years.
What's the key difference between the Eagles and those organizations you mentioned? What's the key difference to you?
Consistency in drafting. Like, 49ers drafted Fred Warner.
Whoa, happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday. Is that Tone?
That was strange. Yeah, that was
your
really
birthday,
strange.
Tone?
I have no idea what happened just now.
I was going to say.
I have no idea what happened just now.
Yeah, Tone, I just
Your
saw
point
like,
is so good. You got balloons for it, Tone. Good
Oh
job.
my God.
Tone, I just saw January 1st.
What the heck was that, man?
Yo, listen, I don't know what I did with my hands. My hands are like, right.
We're going to have you like hands up the rest of the show.
My God.
But seriously, though, look at who the 49ers draft. Look at their homegrown products. You know, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy. Yeah, and like people want to crap on him, but guess what? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, it was one of the better quarterbacks in football this year. I don't care.
But that's what it is, Jeff. I don't think it's just as simple as consistency. I think very specifically, those teams draft significantly better than the Philadelphia Eagles.
They do. And
that's why their foundation has remained intact.
The Eagles are fine drafting. Here's the Eagles' problem. You got to retain guys you find, like TJ Edwards.
TJ Edwards. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there's certain spots they don't see well. They don't see defensive backs well, corners in particular. It's a blind spot kind of position for them, which means you got to get free agents and make trades. That's where other teams are more consistent than them.
It's funny too. Like the teams that are in the Super Bowl right now are stacked at linebacker. Stacked. 3 of the 4 conference championship teams stacked at linebacker. Like, people don't know who Drew Tranquil is. They should. He's what
a game he had Sunday.
Yeah, Nick Bolton is a stud. Like, look at what the Chiefs did drafting. No one notices that. Like, these guys that they're drafting.
McDuffie.
A guy that doesn't get enough love in Detroit is Anzalone, that linebacker. He's solid.
He's a solid linebacker. He'd be the best linebacker on the Eagles. He has his deficiencies. By the way, he's a local kid. He went.
Yeah, he's from
why missing
Berks County, I think. Yeah.
I guess
I covered him when he was in high school.
I guess my overall point is for the Philadelphia Eagles, you cannot be this married to your process where you're ignoring guys that you found, developed, and you're letting them walk out the door for $6 million. It makes no sense to me at all.
And I think that's a problem with this team sometimes. Like, if you look at the secondary, Slay, trade, Bradbury, free agent, Byard, trade, Blankenship you found, undrafted. Okay, cool. Avonte Maddox, you did draft. Like, he's solid. Could have been a lot better. Linebackers you picked up off the street. Nakobe Dean got hurt. We don't know what he is yet. I mean, really, you're the backbone of your team, at least in terms of drafting, is defensive line. Josh Sweat you drafted, Brandon Graham drafted, Fletcher Cox you drafted, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. That's how you're supposed to build a football team. Like, people want to just crap on Davis and Carter and how they think. I'm like, I feel a lot better about them because they're homegrown products. Like, they're bought into the culture and they're bringing their own culture in there, which is good. That's why I thought the offense did so well, because you drafted a Jalen Hurts, you drafted Devonta Smith, you drafted Dallas Goedert, you drafted all these guys, and
you drafted Miles Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Malaya you drafted, Jason Kelce you drafted,
Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens, Isaac Seumalo before that, exactly. Right. Lane Dickerson. That's how you build your football team. You build it through the draft. 49ers do it. The Ravens constantly do it. And guess what? The Chiefs do it too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last one, Jeff. And thanks for the extra time, man.
Yeah, for real, Jeff. I really appreciate you for bearing with me, man. I've been trying to get a lot.
No.
I have a lot of pent-up frustration when it comes to this organization right now.
There's balloons coming. We don't know what's happening.
Yeah. You know what? This time it's your unbirthday and you just don't know.
That's right. It's your unbirthday. All right. Last one. Who wins the Super Bowl, Jeff? 49ers Chiefs.
I never pick against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I just can't do it. I can't.
I'm done doing it.
Yeah, the childhood Andy Reid fan in me just sticks out like a sore thumb. Okay. I told a couple of Chiefs players, like, guys, no, I can't pick against you in the Super Bowl. I don't care who they play. And I'm like, I just can't do it. And I should have known last year. But again, I go with the whole trenches thing. Oh, the Eagles got the better matchup, even though the Chiefs' offensive line's the best. offensive line, that defensive face all year, they'll still get the Patrick. They did not get the Patrick Mahomes last year. They did not. And I think the only time I ever picked against Mahomes and Reed was that Bucs Super Bowl. Because I said, geez, offensive line ain't too good. I should.
That was the whole game. That was the game.
Yeah, I guess what? The Chiefs are loaded on the offensive line, by the way. Like, Jawan Taylor is no Orlando Brown. He's still solid. Like, Nick Allegretti is a good replacement for Joe Thuney, but they need Joe Thuney to play. Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith they're locks. And the 49ers defensive line just isn't getting the pressure they need to get. With all those studs they have there. Like, if Nick Bosa could be the game wrecker he is, and I know he can be, it's going to be a game. But you just can't bet against Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm done doing it. I'm done doing it, Jeff. I bet on one way too many times this year.
You know what? But by the way, while I'm getting stuff off my chest, it bugs me how much people do not like Patrick Mahomes. Oh, he whines all the time. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, you just hate him because he's good, and you hate the Chiefs because they're good. They're the new Patriots.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is
I like him.
Frankly, a very likable guy.
He is a likable guy. I mean, how can you not like him? I mean,
if you just want to hate because he's not on your team, whatever. But he is a very likable guy, personally.
I mean, the second Andy Reid moved up and traded
it changed everything, man.
Yeah, I said this guy's going to be good just because Andy Reid picked him. Like, it's kind of crazy how now, like, the narrative has changed on Reid so much. Like, oh, he won with Donovan. Like, everybody acts like Donovan sucked. Like, come on, man. The guy has the most playoff wins without winning a Super Bowl. They won. Like, he won with Alex Smith. He's won with God. He won with Kevin Cobb. Like, Reid just wins. So now you give him a superstar, and you're seeing the results. I'm telling you, man. Everybody calls Belichick the GOAT. Andy Reid's catching them.
Yeah, your final one for me, Jeff, and I'll let you go. Did the Eagles make a mistake moving on from Andy Reid? Do you believe that was a mistake, or do you feel like that was a situation where, you know what, for 14 years is a long time, maybe everyone needs a change of pace?
It had to be done, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a mistake because it is Andy Reid. But look, Andy Reid grew leaving Philadelphia, and I think everybody kind of knew that. Like, he was going to be better leaving Philadelphia and winning. So, like, I still say the same about a guy like Mike Tomlin. He's been in Pittsburgh too long. You get him somewhere else. Like, say, for all intents and purposes, Steelers move on from Mike Tomlin and the Eagles move on from Nick Sirianni. Wouldn't you take Mike Tomlin in a second?
Yes.
Yeah. And wouldn't you think Mike Tomlin would win big somewhere else? Like, yes. So that's how you got to look at it. I think that's what it was. Like, the Chiefs, I don't even think it took them 24 hours to hire Andy. I think it was, they're getting Andy Reid, the fewest amount of games he's won with the Chiefs has been 9 in the season.
Incredible.
He's won. The Chiefs have won more AFC West titles in the last 8 years than they did in their entire history.
Franchise history.
It's insane what they're able to do. Like, everybody says how cocky Chiefs fans are. I'm like, they have a right to be cocky. Like, because I guarantee you this: if the Eagles did what they did, we would never.
We'll be talking so much shit, Jeff.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
No,
I'll be doing the show with sunglasses every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you imagine if this city ever gets a dynasty in anything?
I don't know that we could handle it.
I don't know we can either. Like, we were close with the Phillies.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, did you know all of a sudden the Phillies are a badly run organization? Like, come on. Like,
listen, it's the off season, man.
Spoiled.
People need things to talk about. It's off season.
Yeah, they're badly run. Yeah, I know. And Joel Embiid's all of a sudden a choker again. I've heard that one too.
Well, that knee's choking. I tell you that.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's choking it for him. Adam Silver. Come on.
The 65 game thing.
I'm sorry. When you need a threshold to win an award, a mandatory threshold, that award ain't worth winning. I'm sorry. When you make up a stat so a guy can win an award because he can't play defense, that's a joke to me. I'm sorry. It just is. Like, everybody made such a big deal about Joel winning the MVP last year. I'm like, I don't care about that award anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the two real most valuable player awards in sports are baseball and football.
I got you. Jeff, keep up the good work, brother. Follow Jeff on Twitter, and he's a great follow. Okay.
Definitely.
Jeff Kerr, CBS, and of course, all of his work at CBS Sports. And you can hear him here on JAKIB as well. Jeff, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for a couple minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm always glad to rant with you guys.
I know.
Always,
I hope
my
we
friend.
helped. We hope you're feeling better now. You got a lot
Right.
off your chest.
You know what?
Definitely.
This is what happens when you coach a basketball game and you lose in a controversial way. You're all fired up the next day after watching the game.
Oh my God, Jeff and I used to rant every morning at 6 a.m. Man, it'd be hilarious.
Oh, it was great. You know what? Tony and I would go on before we did Good Morning NFC East. I think we complained about for 10 minutes about just stuff. We're like, you know what? This is a show today. Forget it.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly
Jeff,
right.
man, I appreciate you, man. It's always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
Jeff. Good catching up, brother.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, man. You got it, Jeff Kerr. That was some fire there, Tone. That was
Oh man,
unbelievable.
listen, Jeff's the kind of guy. Once you tee him up,
That's it.
listen, man, that ball may not come down, man.
Yeah.
I love Jeff.
All right, let's come back. We'll continue with the Eagles discussion when we return. Don't go anywhere. That's Tone. I'm Rob. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances is absolutely critical. I can tell you from personal experience, someone I trust my finances is Jim and Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you need help with your employee benefits, getting them off the ground. That is another resource that Jim can help you with. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. He's also just a great sounding board and resource if you have any questions regarding anything with your financial situation. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. And you can also email him as well, Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.